Someone said, where's your presentation this morning? And so I said, oh, this is it, I'm afraid. Thanks very much for inviting me to speak on behalf of the Ministry at the launch of Wood Energy South. Unfortunately, I'm not as good a speaker as Tim. That was pretty impressive, not a note or anything else, so he's had a lot more experience than I have, obviously. And I'll try not to keep you too long, because I'm standing between you and your morning tea, I understand. In terms of the, just interesting some of that stuff with the air plans, my experience with schools and other councils around the country is, as a ministry, I think we'd be quite happy for you to be as hard as on schools. One of the Otago Regional Council requested that myself and some other people from ECA a while ago attend them in Otago for a spanking about coal burning schools and their air plans and air sheds, but they actually haven't been as hard in practice as they suggested they might be in private. And I guess some of the unintended consequences of us working with the school in Dunedin to try and help them out with their coal burning problem is that they, and also a consequence of the fact that the ministry doesn't tell schools what to do, we advise and provide policy, is that the school eventually decided to spend more on bag filters than they would have had to spend on a wood boiler, so you can't always get the result you want. Just as an introduction, you just heard my name's Mark Stallman. I'm a National Portfolio Manager at the Ministry of Education. I look after a bunch of national contracts, things like all the school BWAS around the country, and disposals and leases and things. And I've been trying to get down to Chicago for some years now, working for the ministry, and finally realising that I'd leased a premises for a Southern Regional Health School in Leet Street. And I read somewhere that the Invercargill Brewery had also migrated to Leet Street, so I thought there's some synergy there, and then this came along and just made it perfect. So for those of you that didn't go to the brewery last night, it was a really good experience. I can see I'm going to be drinking more of their products in the future. Also, the other thing, I'm so pleased to come down, because I'm going to Te Anau for the weekend after this, which is my hometown. So it's a great opportunity to come down and do that. And I think the only thing I can say I've got in common with Tim Shabold is that he worked on the Manapori Power Station, and I was involved in the Save Manapori campaign as a very young child, purely by the fact that I lived in Manapori, and my father worked for at the time the Manapori Doubtful Sound Tourist Company, and Les Hutchins, who were big lights in that. Possibly that's why I got involved in sustainability, and through the ministry, this wood energy. So it's good to be part of the occasion. Just congratulations to Venture Southland and the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Authority on the collaborative and proactive work that's led to the establishment of the New Zealand's first regional renewable heat hub. We know in the 21st century we need to make smarter choices about how we source our energy. The strategic and forward-focused thinking that has produced Wood Energy South is an example of the approach we should be taking when we're making those decisions. It's not quite as simple for schools, I have to say, on the ground. Collaborative work between local communities and government agencies creates ideal conditions for this type of thinking. Local communities have the knowledge and the links necessary for the projects like this to be successful, and the government, well, hopefully we have the resources to support and lead or help with them. It's great to see with the backing of central government and ECA, the Southland community is able to drive this project. The Ministry of Education is pleased to support projects like this as well, especially when they include schools, or particularly when they include schools in their vision. Schools do need a lot of help, especially when making important decisions around big infrastructure projects, and when it comes to replacing a boiler, that's one of the biggest infrastructure projects a school will probably be involved in. These are not easy decisions for schools to make. In fact, school boards, principals and communities are often faced with the difficult task of deciding how to best spend large amounts of capital in ways which meet both their current and our long-term infrastructure needs. This is made harder when you consider that the members of school boards are often elected for 3 years, yet the work they do affects the school, the staff and the community for 15 to 20 years or 30 years or even longer in some cases. How to source the significant amount of energy a school needs to heat its buildings is one of those high-stakes infrastructure decisions school communities have to make. Children do the majority of their learning in a classroom, so it's important they have access to modern learning environments that are comfortable, safe and healthy. Inside the ministry and schools, modern learning environments is a bit of a, it's a buzz word for basically not the school that you and I went to, but little boxes with a teacher in each box, but one big box, maybe 3 teachers and everybody in the same box. So it's a kind of a different thing. And part of that is providing a really good quality indoor environmental quality. Yeah, so that's one of the key things. It's also important for teachers because they spend as much time in the classroom, if not more. For many schools, particularly in Southland, I think with the climate, I'm not being rude, reliable and clean heating is a key feature of a modern learning environment, and the growing number of Enviro schools we have in the area kind of demonstrates the attitude of the people in Southland towards sustainability, which is quite strong, I think. There's a little certain direction out there for a school when choosing a heating option, and since they have each have their own individual circumstances, there's no overarching energy solution for all schools. So the more places a school can turn to for advice on the matter, the better. Wood Energy South hopefully will be a useful point of call for schools that are exploring new energy options. Hopefully can provide them with support, some knowledge and advice when they are making these decisions. And Venture Southland has already sent us a document they want to put out to schools, and it's pretty good. Got a couple of wee comments to make, but it's the sort of thing that we actually don't provide ourselves at the moment. The Ministry of Education we are another source of support for school when choosing the energy path, and we're committed to backing schools and our education leaders, those people on the ground making the important decisions. Obviously, the more support we can give them, the better able they are to focus on the core job, which is raising student achievement. Currently, the Ministry's sustainability policy is being reviewed, which is a bit of a code word for we haven't really got one, but it's on the way. The review is going to look into the costs and benefits of various heating systems in particular, so we can provide some more informed advice to our schools. So for the last few years, when schools came to the ministry and asked for advice on what they should do with the heating system, it's pretty much, off the cuff and not very scientifically based. And I will say it's probably based on some of my own likes and dislikes, and wood's one of my likes. While our policy in the area is still underway, or development of it's underway, we have had some independent reports that show there are benefits in replacing old technology and fuels with newer versions. Those reports have been published thanks to the work of EECA and lately some of our local schools, and particularly Gavin McKenzie, who some of you might know from our Invercargill office. These reports take into account the longevity of the technology, whole of life cost, ease of operation, and hopefully will provide the basis for a wider policy on heating options for the ministry. Although, having said that, a policy is only a guide or advice for schools. We're not telling schools what to do, it's not our role. We have worked in the past with EECA to trial both wood pellet and wood chip fuel. So, that gave us quite a good view of what works and what doesn't work, particularly in terms of taking old boilers and putting wood into old boilers versus the benefits of having a brand new boiler. And if you're from a school or you're working with a school, I'd say the biggest issue that came out of that possibly is that when you design a solution, you want a single drop solution. You do not want the school to have to pick up the wood chips off the ground and then do something else with them. But as I say, I think we moved on a bit since then anyway. If the schools choose to go down the road of wood, we provide support, particularly because wood chip systems are leveraging off already installed infrastructure in the school, and we think that's a pretty good idea. When I say support, I guess I mean a lot of way out terms. I mean money. So and the decision-making process. As you may know, as other energy options become less viable and schools become more aware of the benefits of being environmentally sustainable, a number of them are actually choosing wood fuels independently. Donovan Primary School was the first Southland school, I think, to install a wood chip boiler, and 2 other Southland schools are currently in the process of installing wood-fired boiler heating systems to replace their old coal boilers. That's, I think, Takatimu Primary School and Waihopai Primary School. We've got another few schools in Southland considering the change, I think mainly because of the need to replace old boilers, or partly because also I understand the coal you're getting now is of poor quality, and so the boilers are becoming more and more inefficient, more and more PM10, etc. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And we, as I said, we wouldn't oppose stronger emissions protocols that force schools to make these decisions sooner rather than later. As I said, the key support we provide is funding, and our motivation is recognition of the long-term benefits and the whole-of-life costs associated with wood chip boilers. We also acknowledge the benefits of renewable, cleaner burning, carbon neutral and generally local fuels. There's a whole lot of hopefully good things wrapped up in this outside of just heating your school children's classrooms. I think some of the other things that come out of the use of wood is that the school staff that deal with the boilers love them. They absolutely love them. They go from shoveling coal to watching the boiler do its thing. And another thing they love is that they're not dealing with the ash, which coal ash is pretty toxic stuff. And if you've got a modern boiler, you just empty the ash once a week or whatever, how often it is, and put it out in the garden. It's fabulous. And so the feedback from the actual water operators is really, really positive. It's a less dense energy source, so they're having the biggest change in the infrastructure is a bigger space for storing the fuel. So you need a bigger bunker, but generally with a bigger bunker comes automatic feed. So it's yeah, but I think they produce the same. I think they're producing the same amount of heat. A lot of coal boilers seem to have been well over spec'd, and they're generally running at inefficiently at a quarter speed or half speed or whatever. Speed doesn't apply to a boiler, I presume, but so that's quite inefficient. You're getting more smoke, you're getting more particulates and more sulfur and whatever else. Whereas the wood burners tend to come more often with if they've not got whether or not they've got a big buffer tank, they tend to be better sized. They run hot and hard for shorter periods of time, much more efficient. Yeah, so it's all good really. And I think that the other thing I would say, which I'm pretty hot on, and which is a good thing working for the ministry, is that there's lots of valuable lessons that kids can learn throughout this process, and I would really encourage anybody involved in putting a quarter to $350,000 worth of money into a school boiler system to think about how you expose students to the concepts of energy efficiency, renewable energy, and environmental quality through that process. As I say, there's a lot of Enviro schools in Southland, and kids just suck this stuff up. They love it, and if you want to get some of those messages through, they'll take it home and drive it home. If you go into a classroom and talk to them about how to stack your wood and burning dry wood, and that, they'll go home and drive the parents nuts. They're great for doing it. Yeah. So I guess just to finish off, congratulations again on the launch of Wood Energy South. I think it's a great project. It gives Southland industries and schools the opportunity to consider wood energy as an option, and also it's just a good forward-thinking and energy-efficient way to behave. Well done, Mitch, Southland and EECA, and I wish you all the best for the project. And I'm looking forward to seeing more school boilers burning wood. Thanks.